Good morning, grade 12s. So the second lesson for today, we're going to look at the factors influencing the demand and supply of foreign exchange. Remember, in the previous lesson, I did mention that when there is a demand for one currency, automatically it creates a supply of the other currency. So the example that I'm going to use today is dollars. We're going to work with dollars and rand, but obviously they can ask you any other currency. All right, so they can literally ask you, why would there be a demand for dollars? Why would there be a demand for Chinese yuan? Why would there be a demand for euro? Why would there be a demand for pound? Any currency they can use. They do tend to use the currencies of our major trading partners, so they won't pick some random currency out of thin air. It tends to be the ones that is used by our trading partners. Okay, so that would be America, China, Germany, the European Union, etc., etc. Okay. So we're going to look at the pink block first, okay, from the top to the bottom. If we look at the demand for dollars, and automatically, as I said, when there is a demand for dollars, it creates automatically a supply of rand as well. So the demand of dollars for dollars is made up out of all those people and institutions, businesses who wants to convert rand into dollars. And remember, when we convert rand into dollars, it means that we are selling rand in order to buy dollars. Okay. Now, this can be as a result of various reasons. These bollikies here, okay, this is very, very important, okay? Why would we have a demand for dollars, or why would there be a supply of rand, okay? Because we are selling rand to buy dollars. Why would there be a demand for dollars? In South Africa, we are going to need to have dollars in order, for example, to pay for imports from America. So if we are importing goods and services from America, we need to pay them in dollars. So we would need to sell rand to buy dollars to pay America for the goods that we have imported. The second reason is if we need to buy shares in American firms. Obviously, if we want to buy shares in American companies on their stock exchange, prices will be listed in dollars. So we would have to convert our rand into dollars so that we could buy shares in American firms. The third reason is if we were to buy American assets. Okay, if I, for example, want to buy a house in Miami, I'm going to have to buy that house by paying in dollar. So I need to convert my rand into dollar. The next reason is when people wants to visit the USA. So if there's South Africans in our country that wants to go to America for business purposes, for holiday purposes, for studying purposes, whatever the reason might be, okay, they want to go to America. Obviously, when they go there, they are going to need their spending money, and that needs to be in dollars for them to purchase stuff while they are there. Next reason is if we want to place a deposit with an American bank. Okay, so if I want to open an American bank account and I want to deposit money into that bank account, obviously I'm going to have to do that in dollars. The next reason, if I have to pay interest or dividends to American households and businesses for their investments in South Africa. Okay, this one you have to think a bit nicely. So if there is American people that have deposited money in our banks and we now have to pay them interest on their positive balances, we have to pay them interest in dollar, okay? Or if American people are owning shares in a South African company and we have to pay them dividends if the companies are making a profit and they declare a dividend, the Americans will have to receive their dividends in dollar. Okay, and then the last one is if we want to repay debts that is borrowed from America. So if in the past sometime we had a loan given to us by an American bank, every month obviously we have to pay the installment on that loan, and when we are paying this back to America, that payment has to be made in dollars. Okay, now these things I would suggest that you know at least 3 or 4 of them, because this can be used in a data response question, okay, as part of an exchange rate graph, for example. They can ask you, for example, why did the demand for dollars increase? And you would have to explain one of these reasons. Okay, so pick the 3 or 4 that is the easiest for you to understand, but make sure that you know them very, very well. And then just remember, obviously, it can be applied to any other currency. If we were to ask, why would there be a demand for Chinese yuan? Then you're going to say, to pay for imports from China, to buy shares in Chinese firms, to buy Chinese assets. When people want to visit China, okay, placing a deposit with a Chinese bank, you get my drift, okay? So obviously you must just match the currency with the correct country then, otherwise you're not going to get the marks. Okay, now the higher the price of a dollar becomes, the more expensive American goods become for us to buy. Okay, so the more we pay for the dollar, okay, the price of the dollar will be in rand. Okay, that's the exchange rate. So the higher the price of the dollar, the more expensive it becomes for us to buy goods from America. So when there's a depreciation in the rand, that means the rand loses value. It makes it more expensive for us to visit America, and the cost of our imports from America will also increase. So what is then going to happen? The law of demand says if goods become more expensive, the quantity demanded will decrease. So if our imports become too expensive, we are going to try to decrease the amount of imports. We will not import as much as what we did before, and then our demand for dollars will also decrease. Okay, when there's a depreciation in the rand, that is normally shown as an upward movement along the demand curve. Right, because if the price is on the horizontal, on the vertical axis. Remember, the exchange rate is indicated on the vertical axis. So if more rand is given, we are moving higher up onto the demand curve. You could see that in the previous lesson as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an example of this, okay, so that you can understand what the effect of a depreciation is. And I want you to write down this example either on your notes itself or on a piece of paper, because obviously I've got your books, okay? And this piece of paper, if you're going to do it on a piece of paper, you're going to stick this into your books when you get your books on Monday. All right. I want to see that you wrote down this example. That is my evidence that you actually watched this video. Okay, so if we go to the example, all right, if we look at the depreciation of the rand, and this is the example that you have to write down. Okay, if I'm going too fast, you can pause the video until you catch up, and then obviously you can start playing again. All right, let's say the original exchange rate is $1 equals 15 rand. We buy a car, we import a car. Okay, so this buying of the car is basically our imports. Okay, remember I said you always approach things like this from the South African perspective. Okay, if we buy a car from America, it is imports for us, it is exports for them, but we are not going to explain it from their perspective. You always explain it from our perspective. Okay, so if we buy a car for $10,000, how much will this car cost in rand? Because we are paying in rand, but that rand has to be converted into dollars so that we can pay America for the car that we have bought. Okay, this is your formula for doing an exchange rate conversion. Okay, the first thing that you're going to do is you're writing down the exchange rate. Then we're going to fill in the price. Okay, when we do this, it is important that we put the dollars on the dollar side and the rand with the rand side. Okay, depending on what price is given. In this case, the price is given in dollars. Okay, and then if you're going to calculate the price of $10,000 and how much rand must we give to buy $10,000, this is your formula. Okay, bottom one over the top one times the other one on 1. I'm going to explain this now when I do the example. Okay. All right, so if we do this, okay, the first step I said we have to write down the exchange rate. Okay, so my exchange rate is $1 equals 15 rand. Okay, that is the exchange rate that was given. Step 2 is we fill in the price. Okay, our price is obviously $10,000. Okay, so if we take $10,000, we now want to know how much rand do we need to give to the bank so that they would give us $10,000 so that we can pay the American dealership for this car. Okay, and then we are going to go bottom one over the top one times the other one on 1. Okay, so if we do that quickly, okay, we are going to say, okay, to explain this quickly, bottom one over the top one times the other one, you're going to start with the side that the information is complete. Okay, your left side of your equation, you have all the information. So this will be the bottom one, that is the top one, and then the 15 will be the other one. All right, so we're literally going to take 10,000 rand. Okay, we are putting it over the top one. Okay, and then we are saying multiplied by the other one, which is 15 on 1. Okay, 15 on 1, I'm going to put it on a 1. That is basically what you're going to do. Okay, and then if we do this calculation, that is going to be, let me just calculate that first. Okay, it basically boils down to 10,000 yes times by 15. Okay, that means that this vehicle is going to cost us 150,000 rand. All right, so what is going to happen is I'm going to go to the bank. I'm going to tell the bank, listen, I would like to buy this American vehicle. I need to buy $10,000. The bank is going to say to me, fine, they're going to do the exchange rate conversion. They're going to say, right, you give me 150,000 rand. I give you $10,000. Okay, you take your $10,000 then and you send your $10,000 to America to pay for the car. Okay, but now we want to see what if there is a depreciation of the rand. Okay, that is what the question is saying, right? What is going to happen if there is a depreciation of the rand? Okay, so if we have a new exchange rate now, okay, let's say the rand depreciates. This means now if there's a depreciation, more rand is given for every dollar that we buy. Okay, so if the rand was 15 rand before, let's just make it some 20 to make it easy. Okay, it's a big depreciation. All right, so if my new exchange rate is now 20 rand to the dollar, okay, and I want to go and buy another car now, okay, because I like the first one. My first child went to varsity, I bought him a car. Now my second child is going, I want to buy her a car as well. Okay, so I buy the same car, but what is important is that the price of the car is staying the same. Okay, but we write down the exchange rate. Our new exchange rate now is that $1 equals 20 rand. Okay, we fill in the price. The price hasn't changed. This is important. Okay, it is not the price of the car that is changing. It is the price of the dollar that is changing. Okay, in America, if you were living in America, the car is still going to cost you $10,000. It is only because we are in South Africa and we have to do an exchange rate conversion, the price of the dollar has changed. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to calculate it in exactly the same way. Okay, bottom one, okay, all your information is here. Bottom one over the top one times the other one. Okay, so again now it is going to be $10,000, the price. We divide it by the top one, which is 1. Okay, top one, it is 1. Okay, and then we are going to multiply by the other one. And the other one obviously is the new exchange rate, which is 20 rand. Okay, and if we do this calculation, we will see now that this car is costing me 200,000 rand now. Okay, quite a difference there. With a lower exchange rate at 15 rand to the dollar, the car only cost me 150,000 rand. Now, even though the price of the car is the same because the dollar is more expensive, now if I go to the bank and I ask for $10,000, they're going to tell me that I have to give them 200,000 rand in order to obtain the $10,000 I need to be able to buy the car. All right. So what is important for you to notice now, okay, is obviously that the car has become more expensive. Okay, so we're looking at the effects, right? What is the effect of a depreciation of the rand now? Okay, the car has become more expensive. Okay, and the car basically is representatives of our imports. Okay, it becomes more expensive for us to import from America. Okay, what is going to happen to our imports? Imports will decrease. All right, because the law of demand says when something becomes more expensive, we are going to buy less of it. Okay, we're not going to want as much as we did before. All right, and what is going to happen for the demand for dollars? It is going to decrease because if we are not buying so many cars anymore, we are not going to be buying so many dollars anymore. Okay, that is your depreciation. Okay, then we are going to go to a new example. Okay, we're going to go now to see what is going to happen if there is an appreciation. All right, so I'm going to go back to the notes. Okay, so we can see what is going to happen if there is an appreciation of the rand. How is that going to look? Okay, so we go back to the notes quickly. Okay, and now we are going to go back up to the purple block. Okay, now what happens if there is a supply of dollars, right? At the same time, there will be a demand for rand. Okay, remember, a supply of one currency automatically means that there will be a demand for another currency. All right. So when there's a supply of dollars from a South African perspective, that means that America is busy selling their dollars in order to buy rand. Supply means selling, demand means buying. So the Americans are busy buying rand, and in order to do so, they will be selling their dollars. So the supply of dollars will create a demand for rand. All right, so where does the supply of dollars come from? Obviously, all of those American people now and businesses who wants to convert their dollars into rand. Why would they want rand? Because they have to pay us for stuff, for something, okay? These reasons are exactly the same as what we did just now, but now it's just from the other side, okay? Why would America want to give us money? First of all, to pay South Africa for exported goods and services, okay? Remember, always from our perspective. So exports from South Africa will mean that they have to give us a payment. You are not going to say that they import from South Africa because that is not from our perspective. Okay, South Africa exports goods and services to America and they need to pay us for our exports. If South Africa, if they, American companies, if American people would like to buy shares in a South African company, on the JSE, obviously prices of shares is listed in rand. So if they want to come and invest in SA breweries, they are going to buy their shares in rand. They convert their dollars into rand so that they can buy shares on the JSE. If there's American people that would like to buy assets in South Africa, they want to buy a game farm in South Africa, they want to buy a house in Clifton, they want to buy whatever, a business in South Africa, they're going to need to have rand to do that. They convert their dollars into rand so that they can pay for the asset that they're buying in South Africa. Okay, should there be Americans wanting to visit South Africa for whatever reason, they want to come and see the Big Five, they do whatever, but in order for them to spend money while they are here, they are going to need to obviously spend in rand. If they go to our shops, they need to pay in rand. So they have to convert their dollars into rand. All right. Next one, if they want to place a deposit in a South African bank. Okay, so again, if an American person opens a South African bank account and they want to deposit money into that account, if they want to deposit money in a South African bank, they have to convert their dollars into rand because our financial institutions, you have to deposit rand. Okay, the second last one, if they have to pay interest or dividends to South African households or businesses for their investments in America. So if previously, in other words, there is a South African person or a South African business that have invested money in an American bank, okay, this one, right? Before we placed a deposit with an American bank, we did that in dollar. But now, for the next year, obviously they need to pay us interest on the money that we have in that bank account because they are paying us, they have to pay us in rand. Same with the dividends. Okay, if there was a South African that bought shares in an American company before, at the end of their financial year, when they declare a profit and they declare a dividend, obviously they need to pay the dividends to the South Africans in rand. And then lastly, if there is an American that has borrowed money from South Africa before, the installment, this monthly installment that he has to pay for the repayment of this loan, that has to be done obviously in rand to a South African bank. Okay, so again, this again can be anything. Okay, why would there be a supply of pound? Right, because British people want to pay for exports from South Africa. British people want to buy shares in South African company. British people are buying houses in South Africa. Okay, you match obviously the currency to the appropriate country. Okay, now, okay, this example is the same. Okay, it's again the depreciation of the rand. Okay, higher the price of a dollar, the more cheaper South African goods and assets are becoming. All right, so the higher the price of the dollar, the more rand we give for the dollar, the cheaper it becomes for Americans to buy from South Africa. All right, so the higher the price of the dollar, in other words, for every $1, they used to get 15 rand. Now for every $1, they get 20 rand. Okay, so it becomes very cheap for them to buy from South Africa or to come on holiday to South Africa. All right, so depreciation makes it cheaper for them to visit our country, and it means that our exports becomes cheaper. It is cheaper for them to buy from us. And because our goods are cheaper in terms of dollars, okay, they would like to buy more from us, so they're going to be selling more dollars in order to buy more rand to pay us for our exports. All right, and that will be indicated as an upward movement on the supply curve. All right, if the price increases, we know this from the law of supply. If the price, the exchange rate is the price. If the price increases, quantity supplied will increase. Okay, so at a higher price, we will be moving higher up on your supply curve. Okay, so if we just look at that example. Okay, I'm just going to change this. Okay, obviously we are now looking at it from the other side. Okay, so we're going to go back again and we're going to say the original exchange rate is $1 equals 15 Rand. All right, so that is the end of that first example. Okay, then we're going to just start another example. Okay, that is my original exchange rate. Okay, now in the previous example, we bought stuff from America. Now we are trying to see why would there be a supply of dollars, so they are buying stuff from us. Okay, so there's an American person, okay, that buys wine. Okay, buys a bottle of wine from South Africa. Okay, the price of this wine is, let's say, 200 Rand. Okay, it's proper wine. All right, there's 200 Rand for this bottle of wine. Okay, so firstly, he has to now figure out he needs to sell his dollars in order to buy 200 Rand so that he can pay for the wine. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Again, we follow the same steps. Okay, we're going to write down the exchange rate. Okay, the first thing that we do is we write down the exchange rate. We're following the same steps. Okay, we write down the exchange rate. The exchange rate now is $1. Again, we went back to the original exchange rate, $1 to 15 Rand. Okay, now he wants to know, he wants to buy enough dollars so that he can buy a 200 Rand bottle of wine. Okay, remember what I said? Dollars with dollars, Rand with Rand. So now the price is given in Rand, so it has to come and chill you on the right side. Okay, and then when we do it, bottom one over the top one times the other one. This is now your bottom one. That is your top one. That is the other one. Now you start with the side that is complete, where you have all the information. Bottom one over the top one times the other one. All right, so the bottom one will be the 200 Rand. That is the price of wine. Okay, then we're going to put it over the top one. And the top one, obviously, is the exchange rate. Okay, over 15, right? And we are going to multiply by the other one. Okay, the other one in this case is just one. It's $1. All right, so our answer is going to be 200 over 15. Let's see how much that is quickly. 200 divided by 15 means that this bottle of wine, this lovely South African wine, is going to cost them $13.33. So when this American cowboy is going to his bank, he's going to ask them, right, I want to order wine from South Africa. I need to pay 200 Rand for this wine. I would like to purchase 200 Rand. His bank is going to do the exchange rate conversion, and they're going to tell him, okay, fine, you need to give me 13 Rand 33, $13.33. They give him the 200 Rand. He's happy. He sends the 200 Rand to South Africa, and then his wine gets delivered. Okay, then 2 weeks later, okay, he decides this wine was so delicious, he would like some more of this wine. Okay, but when he looks, okay, there's a new exchange rate. So now $1 we said equals 20 Rand. Let's say, we keep it the same as the previous example. Okay, so the new exchange rate is now 20 Rand to the dollar, and he goes to his bank asking to buy 200 Rand. They're going to work it out again. Okay, so again, we write down the exchange rate. At this stage, $1 equals 20 Rand. Okay, he wants to know how many dollars does he have to give in order to buy 200 Rand. Okay, and then when you do the calculation, again, bottom one over the top one times the other one. Bottom one is 200 Rand. Okay, 200 Rand for the bottle of wine. I want you to notice that the bottle of wine is still costing the same. Okay, the wine is still costing only 200 Rand. Okay, that's 20 Rand now. Okay, the exchange rate. All right, so the bottle of wine, the price of the wine has not changed. The wine is still 200 Rand. If you were buying wine from South Africa in South Africa, you would still pay 200 Rand. But because it is an American, he has to buy Rand first. And because for him now, the Rand has become cheaper. For every $1, he used to get 15 Rand. Now for every $1 he sells, he's going to get 20 Rand. Okay, so if we do this calculation, and we times that by 200, by 1. There, the other side, 200 over 20 times 1. Bottom one over the top one times the other one on 1. Then you are going to see that the bank is going to do this exchange rate conversion. They're going to tell him, okay, 200 divided by 20. You have to give me how much dollars now? You're going to give me $10 in order to get 200 Rand so that you can buy the wine. All right. This person obviously is going to be very happy because now what happened to the price of this wine for him, okay, as an American, the wine is now cheaper. All right. So what's going to happen? Okay, he's going to give his $10 to the bank. They're going to give him the 200 Rand. He's sending the 200 Rand to South Africa to buy some wine. Okay, so what happened now? The wine for the American, our exports, the wine is exports for us, have become cheaper. All right, it's cheaper for this guy to buy from us now. Okay, but that means that, what is he going to do? Okay, the demand for our exports will increase. All right, he wants more wine. Okay, now it's only 10 Rand a bottle. Someone wants 100 bottles. Okay, it's cheap. So he wants to buy more wine. Our exports will increase, and that means that the demand for Rand, okay, or the supply of dollars will increase. All right, because he's going to buy more wine now. He's going to give 10 Rand and another $10 and another $10 and another $10 because he wants to buy lots and lots and lots of wine. All right, because it's now cheaper for him to buy. Okay, just make sure that you actually do this example either in your notes, either on a piece of paper. But when I see you on Monday, I am going to check for this. I want to see that you wrote down this example because this is my proof that you've done it. Okay, you can now enjoy the rest of your day.